You're joining me on a nice autumn day. The wind has dropped a little bit and the sun is out, just perfect for model flying. And I'm going to be taking this XFLY 1.2 metre Supermarine Spitfire up for the first time. Got this from CML Distribution here in England, and it goes together really quickly. 1.2 metre wingspan, as I said, features retractable landing gear as you'd expect, and there's a huge amount of scale detail on this. Goes together really quickly, as I said, takes 15 minutes or less to put it together. Get your receiver in it and test it, because all the hard work has been done for you. It really is simple. And here's my little guide to putting one together. So I do like to start off by showing how well packed the components are in the box after you've taken the lid off, and don't take it for granted that every manufacturer does this, but you can see XFLY do it well. You know, nothing is going to move around in the box, but there are still other manufacturers out there where sometimes components aren't restrained and they bounce around in the box, and surprise, it gets to you and something's damaged. Well, not the case with XFLY. It looks like it's very well packed, and the container has been designed for that purpose, to make sure things don't move around. First time I've seen this bit of advice on a box, but it's a very good one, so credit to XFLY for this. It's quite important, if you've not set up flaps before, you're not familiar with doing it, that you disconnect that flap linkage before you power on the airplane, because it could be your default flap settings could try and make the servo go beyond the mechanical limit of the flap itself and burn out the servo. You wouldn't want that to happen. So if you haven't done flaps before, make sure you do this. Attaching the wing to the fuselage is the first step of assembly. Now here's underneath the fuselage where we're going to attach the wing, but I would advise that you tighten up the grub screws in each of the quick connectors on the elevator and rudder servo arms here. Obviously make sure the control surfaces, the elevator and rudder, are in the neutral positions first, and then make sure that the servo arms are at 90 degrees as they are shown here, and tighten up those grub screws. Then slide the wing in place and use 4 of the provided bolts to attach it to the fuselage. Don't over tighten the screws. These are only plastic fittings, so make sure you reasonably tighten them but not over tighten them so as to damage those plastic components. Next is to install the horizontal stabilizers onto the fuselage. First step is to insert the carbon rod through the back of the fuselage here, and then we slide on the horizontal stabilizer halves onto that carbon rod. You'll see on top there are 4 holes. You need to drop 4 bolts into those holes and tighten those up, not too tight. Moving on to attaching the propeller and spinner. If you look at the motor shaft, you'll see that the prop nut is already attached, so remove that as I'm showing here. Then you slide the back plate for the spinner onto the motor shaft, then slide the propeller onto the motor shaft, ensuring that it's the right way around as I'm showing here. Then reattach the prop nuts and do this up tightly, but not too tightly so as to damage the thread on the motor shaft. You wouldn't want to do that. And then slide the spinner on itself, and there's a little bolt that you need to put through the hole in the front of the spinner into the hole in the motor shaft and tighten that up. Some scale detail next. So just slide the 2 machine guns onto the little plastic fittings on the leading edge of each wing. These just friction fit. All you have to do is push them on. Very final step of this very quick and basic assembly is to attach the push rod onto the elevator horn. Now there is a special tool you can use for connecting ball links like this, but if you don't have that and you have to use a set of pliers, just be very careful how you do it so that you don't break these plastic fittings. Then all that is left to do is for you to drop in your receiver, maybe attach it on a piece of Velcro inside the fuselage and connect up all of the servos into it. They're all labelled, so this is very easy to do. So with that done, let's get it in the air and let's see how it flies. So there you go, XFLY 1.2 metre Supermarine Spitfire. Even in this wind, it was absolutely fantastic, I have to say. I didn't do aerobatics too low, obviously, because it was quite bumpy off the wind off the trees today. It was quite bumpy, but it just proves that you can't let the weather keep you inside. If it's dry, then get out and fly. Because you know, you'll learn a lot even in the wind, whether it's crosswind or whether it's down the strip. It's well worth doing, and this is brilliant at that. You wouldn't have thought for a Spitfire with its you know, with the wing, classically they're quite difficult to fly, but not this one. The retract's really sturdy, have to say, worked really well. Didn't use flaps today, didn't need them with the headwind. But the lights on the wingtips, I hope they show up on the video, because they were really bright as well, particularly in the low light today when the clouds went over the sun. But brilliant. I tried it actually, and I will say I tried a 4S 2700 to start with, and then a 4S 4000. It was much better on the 4000. That bit of weight really helps it in the air. On the 2700, it did bump around a little bit more, but really stable and easier to fly on the 4000. Well, worth mentioning. So there you go, link for this is in the video description and the pinned comment to CML distribution here in England if you want to snap one up. But thanks for watching Essential RC. If you're not a subscriber or follower already on YouTube or Facebook, please do that now. But thanks for watching, see you again soon, bye.